You know what the biggest realization I've had is something my brother-in-law said. Ideally, you find someone that can actually do the job better than you can do it. And for a long time, that's a hard pill to swallow because we all got big egos, and it's like they're actually better than me at doing these things.
Is that so? For so many years, I was the numbers guy, the prime cost guy, systems. I realized I went backwards. If I can get you a life, then we have managers in place and we're making the money we deserve. And so it starts with you. So there's a major mind shift in myself and who I'm looking for, because it is more about mindset. It's more about being a growth mindset person versus a fixed mindset person. And it's been a lot of fun the last 5 years building this program up because I've seen people change their lives. The systems are a tool, but it starts with us. Are we ready to become the leader our restaurant needs?
All right, guys, welcome to the Duce Raymond Podcast. Today we have an awesome guest. I'm so excited. David Scott Peters. He is the man when it comes to restaurant operations and figuring out why your restaurant isn't making money. So, David, can you introduce yourself?
Sure. I'm David Scott Peters. I'm a restaurant coach. You can find me at davidscottpeters.com. But a book out there called Restaurant Prosperity Formula, What Successful Restaurateurs Do. And my whole calling in life is to help independent restaurant owners achieve restaurant prosperity, freedom for your restaurant, and the financial freedom you deserve. That's it in a nutshell.
That's awesome. David, you sound like a pro, man. I got to give it to you. I heard you online. Like I said, you showed up in my feed, and then Matt Plapp was on my show, and he's like, you really got to interview David. And I was so excited about it because you just sound like you know your stuff. You're all dialed in, and I'm so excited to have this conversation because I think we can really help some people out there today. Give us a little background. How'd you get into the restaurant industry? I think you started in the family business, if I'm not mistaken.
Oh, dear Lord. Just like many of us, I grew up my family's restaurant and catering business back in Linwood, New Jersey. Worked for the toughest manager I know, my mother. And if you work for a family, which you have, you know it sucks. Why? Because my mom rode my sister and I twice as hard as everybody else, said there'd be no favoritism. And while I hated it as a kid, she did me a favor. I had a work ethic like nobody else around me, so I elevated everywhere I worked so quickly. So she did me a favor. I took those skill sets, eventually went to college, then food and beverage jobs. But when I got out, I worked for basically an independent brew pub and cafe in Phoenix, Arizona called Coyote Springs Brewing Company Cafe. Started as a bartender, worked my way into management. Next thing you know, I'm the operations manager. We're 2 locations. We're kicking ass. My boss wanted to open multiple locations. The unfortunate reality is we had cash flow issues. We made some bad decisions. And by the time I got into operations management, I'd created all these systems because we were making so many mistakes. And I learned 2 of the most important lessons. One is cash flow. What pays your bills, cash or profits? It's cash. And so we created budgets, but really mattered was what was in the bank account. And we all lived that. If you were operating during COVID, that was the mass slap in the face of, oh shit, we only have 2 weeks of cash flow and we're closed, or we've hit such rock bottom that we burned through it in 2 weeks and now we're in trouble. And so we've got to really not only have budgets to know where we're going, but we've got to manage that cash. The other lesson was accountability. Doesn't matter if you have systems, doesn't matter if you have managers, if you can't hold people accountable. And that's not a negative. I'm not going to hold you accountable. I'm going to hold you answerable because I trained you in what your job is, how to do it, how well it should be done, more importantly, by when. Well, when I left there, I went to a company called Famous Sam's, a 30-unit restaurant sports bar chain, director of operations. Guys wanted to take it public. We opened 8 stores. I brought in my own team, redid the whole training. In under a year, they damn near bankrupted the company. So I took off and I went and taught at Scottsdale Culinary Institute, management, human resources, wines and spirit. I'm not a chef. I have 0 knife skills. I do not belong in a kitchen. Give me an 8-minute ticket time. I can do a fry station, sandwiches, like an expo. But give me fine dining, I'm out. Cannot grill, it's out of it. Yeah. So while I was doing that, I was teaching, I was consulting, and the minority shareholders of Famous Sam's became the majority shareholders, and they kept asking me back. And about a year later, I came back, and I was about 3 months from my son being born, first child, and I kept saying no, 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 and I finally said okay. I accepted the job. The company was damn near bankrupt. And my job as now the chief operating officer was turn it around and sell it in 5 years. I missed that goal by 3 months. I know what it is to be an independent operator. I know what makes the chain successful. And I used to think it was my job to provide the independent operator the same systems and tools that chains use without losing our independence. Love our guests, love our employees. We are going to do what they do, and that's make money, which all made sense. And I started coaching independent restaurants in 2003. And I still had a couple years of turning that company around. And I knew when I sold, I would be out of a job. Well, I've been coaching independent restaurants since 2003. My old company that I started workshops, seminars, training materials, then a coaching program. Then it turned into a software company. And about 5 years ago, my then became business partner bought me out, and I'm back doing the roots of just coaching independent restaurants. And what I realized in writing my book, Restaurant Prosperity Formula, is that for so many years, I was the numbers guy, the prime cost guy, systems. I realized I went backwards. If I can get you a life, then we have managers in place and we're making the money we deserve. And so it starts with you. So there's a major mind shift in myself and who I'm looking for, because it is more about mindset. It's more about being a growth mindset person versus a fixed mindset person. And it's been a lot of fun the last 5 years building this program up, because I've seen people change their lives. The systems are a tool, but it starts with us. Are we ready to become the leader our restaurant needs?
That's so awesome to hear. And that's something that I've really been working on in the last couple of years, is being able to get the people in place so I am not the one chopping the onions, taking the money at the register, and doing all this stuff. And it's really made a big difference in our business. One, I get to be at home with my kids and my wife at night and having dinner. And two, we've provided so many opportunities for other people in the industry. And you know what the biggest realization I've had is something my brother-in-law said. Ideally, you find someone that can actually do the job better than you can do it. And for a long time, that's a hard pill to swallow, because we all got big egos, and it's like, they're actually better than me at doing these things.
But there's a reason. There's really several reasons. One is, you and I grew up in the business, which means we were raised, the more hours you put in, the harder you work, the more valuable you are to the company. That's bullshit wrong. Absolutely asinine wrong, right? Because all you are is a polished turd. You get to 80 hours, you're like, what are you doing? You're babysitting. That's all you're doing, right? So that's one reason. The next is, we were also taught to be God's gift to the restaurant. Oh, you need help? Call me. You know, all day and night, here comes our cell phone. And back then it was an actual telephone or pager, because I'm really old. And so all of a sudden we go through and we'd be sucked in, because we were God's gift. We just open up our shirt. There'd be the super person S on our chest, and I'll fix it. And we enable people to do nothing. The other is this. When you realize everything that we do, they're just tasks. The role of a restaurant owner is marketing, budgets, developing your management team, holding them accountable, moving the business forward, working strategically on the business, not taking an inventory, not placing an order, not being God's gift to scheduling. Those are tasks. There's a system, a process, a way to doing all those. And if we can document and train those systems, now we let other people do it. So for instance, many chef owners think, oh, I've got to be the chef and I've got to be the owner. And then you bring in a chef de cuisine and fire yourself out of the kitchen. All of a sudden, food cost goes down, quality goes up, service goes up. And you go, what the hell? Because as an entrepreneur, I always say, as a manager, be very clear, I was God's gift to the restaurant business. You couldn't have told me any different. Oh my God, I could put in all the hours in the world. I will crush it. I became a business owner. It's a black hole of death. My desk is the black hole of death. Because why? I've got all these other things. I got payroll to worry about. I got purchasing to worry about. I got marketing to worry about. I got compliance to worry about. I got taxes to worry about. And so as an owner, yes, you give somebody kitchen, guess what? All they got to worry about is the four walls of the kitchen, not the four walls of the business and outside the four walls and all the regulations and all that other stuff. So the more you can allow people to specialize in each one of those departments, yeah, they're going to kick your ass if we give them the right training.
Man, that makes so much sense. I mean, and how much better does anybody do with a specific set? It's just like, I mean, you can relate it to so many things, but if you're a business owner trying to start a new business, you have to focus on that one thing, and the other business better be able to run by itself. And that's kind of what I'm worried about right now is like, I'm trying to start a new thing with Duce's Wild, but our other business has to be able to, they can't have me go solve the problems or do anything else, you know?
And so this becomes the importance of systems, that there's a system, a process, a way to doing anything and everything in your business your way. I don't care if it's buying paper clips or it's doing something as advanced like dollars per labor hour worked. Because how many times have you been in the restaurant and like, for me, we were a brew pub and in come the red hat ladies. Like, I didn't know what the hell the red hat lady. Here are ladies with red freaking hats, and they all get together. They want separate checks, and they all drink all iced tea. And here we're a brew pub, and we're putting out all these iced teas. I go, oh, I need more iced teaspoons. So I go to the closet, open it up to where I would find the box of all the backups. There were no iced teaspoons. Why were there no iced teaspoons? Because there was no system. See, it was so simple. Someone will order iced teaspoons. It was so simple, everybody thought somebody else would order iced teaspoons. Now we need frickin' iced teaspoons. There are none. So there is a system, a process, a way for everything in the business. And when we can document and train that, all of a sudden, we're moving away from, I think managing people sucks. Let me be very clear what I'm saying here. That's going to like throw you off if you're listening to us. Managing people sucks. Well, I got to manage people every day. Yeah, it's the hard part of the business. What I want to do is I want to manage a system and develop people. See, all too often in the restaurant biz, all we do is we put knowledge into one person. So I have a general manager. They're the only one who knows how to program the POS system. They're the only one who knows how to place an order. The only one who knows how to interview. They're the only one who knows, and they're the only one. And then all of a sudden, let's say they have a traumatic something going on in their life, and they start to go downhill. Substance abuse to theft to just being a raving ass in my business and tearing up my culture. And you sit as an owner and go, I can't get rid of that person. Oh no, they're the only ones who know how to do these things because I put all that development, all that knowledge in one person. If I took all that knowledge and put it in a system, I know that person's going to go for good or bad reasons, whether it's next month, 20 years from now, does not matter. I have the next trained replacement. I've got people learning the same systems as that person knows. So when they move on, my systems stay intact. So when you look at the second location, you could certainly go back and forth between the two and impose your will by being there. But what's going to happen is your original location feels hurt. Oh, you love that new baby more than me. It's bizarre. But you need to spend the time over there so things start to fall off on the other one. And you start running back and forth. And you could take a 40-hour work week, make it an 80-hour, and still get it done. But you have no life. You go to a third location, it's impossible. So when I have systems, it allows you to manage the systems, develop the people.
Yeah, that makes so much sense. So you do, restaurant coaching. Have you ever started from scratch with a restaurant saying like, we have a concept, we have money behind it, and we want to get started. Can you get us the systems before we actually open the doors? Have you ever helped do something like that?
Probably a handful, probably literally less than 5. Because the answer is no. Why do I say that? All the proven systems that I provide are for operating businesses. Now, I can help you. I've got some timelines and checklists for opening timelines to get your business open. Not my strength. I can tell you how to hire and soft open and do those things, but that's not the big thing. You need to, you need an architect, you need a kitchen designer, you need all the right professionals to get those things done. And I'm not a designer. I cannot tell you what you need to do, but I can look at it and tell you that's wrong, like in a heartbeat. That bar was set up wrong. You need to move the, dish pit over here, whatever it may be. Not my strength. So I don't put myself in that. But yes, I've opened restaurants. What I truly do is I help you with budgets so that you know what KPIs, key performance indicators you need to hit for. Food costs, pour costs, bottle beer, draft beer, wine, liquor, labor costs, by position, where my occupancy should be, where my paper supplies, janitorial, and so on. I give you the operating systems to achieve those. So now since you're operating, we can order on budget because I have a system for that. We can schedule on budget because we have a system for that. We can become a proactive management team where we're saying this is where we're going versus reactive, just looking at P&Ls and reports that are the past. I can't change the past. So for me, my strength is an operating business. Yes, if you're about 3 months out of opening, from opening, I can help you, and we can get some of those preliminary systems in place. But if you're not managing people, you're not leading people, then there's no systems to use.
Where do you find that sweet spot? Like if you were going to open a restaurant, what type of restaurant would you open? Would it be fast casual with a drive-through? Would it be a brew pub? What do you feel like it gives you the best chance for success? Let's just talk about the dollars in this scenario.
So there's two sides to that question. What would I do, and what would I do if it was just to make money?
Yeah.
So the first thing is I would provide either the neighborhood I want to open a restaurant, what they want and need. I don't want to be a fine dining chef and open up in a bedroom community that, is lots of children and all these things, because now I'm the special occasion place. I will not thrive. I'm not a destination place yet, right?
Right.
Vice versa, I may say I want to open this fine dining restaurant. I'm going to find a neighborhood that can support it. Someplace that has, the right income and the right cars and the right everything. Boom, right?
Is fine dining typically the highest margins out there?
No. If it were me, so now we're saying, what would I open? If it were me, and I had a choice, I'm probably opening the two restaurant segments that have the highest failure rate: Mexican food and pizza.
Really?
In a heartbeat. Now, the reason why they have the highest failure rate is they're often mom and pops. They're under $500,000 a year. Somebody bought themselves a job. They're working their ass off, just really struggling to make it work. Okay. But those are my best margins. I'll do that all day long. With that said, I'm going to backtrack. I don't really care about the cuisine or the style of service. Whether it's quick serve, full serve, does not matter to me. I look at it this. If you'd asked me 15 years ago, if I were to open a restaurant, what would I look for? Well, I'd want to do at least over $1 million in sales.
I was going to ask that question. Is there a sweet spot that you have to at least get to?
Well, there's two things. So let me finish this answer.
Okay.
If I were to open a restaurant, I wouldn't open it if I can't do $2 million. It takes the same amount of effort to operate a $350,000 sandwich shop that it does a $2 million steakhouse. Don't care what it is. $2 million quick serve restaurant. Fill in the blanks. And oh, by the way, we are now charging $18 for a burger. So $2 million is the $1 million customer count from 10, 15 years ago. Like it's not, oh my gosh, it's now double the sales. No, same customer counts. We're just charging a whole lot more. Now, with that said, the sweet spot is I need to do at least $850,000 a year in sales, gross sales, to afford a full management team in place and let me make money. Now, the NRA, National Restaurant Association, says the average or typical restaurant makes a nickel to 8 cents on every dollar. That ain't worth my effort. The risk involved and all things in there. So my goal is a 15 to 20% profit margin. That means I've got to take my prime cost, which is total cost of goods sold plus total labor costs, including taxes, benefits, insurance, from the old standard of 65% to 55 or under. And so I can't get it under 55 at 850. 850, it's going to be 60% below. If above that, I can go to 55. I get to $2 million, I can get it to 50. Because all of a sudden, our customers are managing our efficiencies. I can't add any more employees. It's just sales are higher, and I've got fixed labor because we're just busy all the time. And so there's a lot of things to balance. Location, what does the neighborhood need? Can I bring in enough sales? Would I open a restaurant that did $1 million? Yeah, I'd do it. But I want to look for the $2 million or higher location. That's what I want to do.
Right. No, that makes a ton of sense. That's the same thing the way I think about our restaurant. Our little restaurant does like 1.1 million in sales. But anytime, and what really makes it profitable is when we get overflow barbecue catering, because we do all sorts of catering on the catering. We do high-end weddings, we do cocktail receptions, we do barbecue, of course. But when I can send the catering over to the restaurant, they got no extra labor. We run 2 separate P&Ls for the catering in the restaurant.
Yep.
If I send extra catering over there, it drops to the bottom line because they don't add any more labor. They're just running the same menu, it's just, I don't know. It's a beautiful thing. So if I could get more sales in there, the amount of labor you add is very little, and it just drops to the bottom line. It's crazy.
Well, because there's a certain level of efficiencies. We often, and so here's the downside, Duce. When you tell me that, it tells me I'm probably overstaffed.
Yeah, but what are you
Right?
going to do? You're going to have less than one cook? You know what I mean?
So this is where we go to, there's something called minimum staffings and minimum staffing, which is I got one cook, I got one server or cashier, I got a manager. What do you want me to do? My labor cost is 40%. The only thing to fix that is sales.
Yeah.
With that said, I've got maximum efficiencies, those months where I got plenty of money, but I couldn't add another cook. I couldn't add another server or cashier or name a position. I'm maxed out. So when we look at labor cost, we cannot look at it as 1 month. We have to look at it in a year, an annual budget. Because I may have on purpose, because I don't want to let people go. My core values say I want to keep them working. It costs me too much to retrain people. We go out of season. I'm not going to get rid of people.
I think you were in the room when we had our last meeting. I'm pretty sure this is ridiculous.
There's nothing new. So either I can lower my food cost and cost of goods sold and know that I might run a higher labor cost, but even if I don't, my labor cost might run 38%, 40%, 50% on purpose. But when I get to my crushing months, right, instead of a $40,000 a month, I'm doing $250,000. My labor cost is going to be 19%. So I have to look at the full year to set my labor costs. And this is where so many restaurant owners go wrong. They read an article, they see a speaker, they freaking, I don't know, they search the internet and watch a video, and they hear some jackass go, well, the typical restaurant runs a 34% or 32% labor cost. Oh, it must be 32. But in the scenarios we just went through, one's going to be 48, one's going to be 19. One, we can never get there, and my managers are like, screw you, owner, I'm never going to get there. And then in here, we're wasting thousands upon thousands of dollars because we're just bleeding left and right, but we can't see it. No restaurant has ever run the right labor costs without a budget, because now I'm going to know by month what my labor costs should be. And it's different when I've got salaried managers, because in the slow time, they're like Pac-Man eating up all my money, which I need more money as a percentage. But when I'm in season crushing it, they're a small percentage of sales. And I don't need any extra money. And so you have to look at your budget for a year. And if you've been following me any length of time, Duce, the two things I tell restaurant owners, the two most important systems they should ever have are budgets and recipe costing cards. Why? Because they're proactive tools. The budget tells me my plan for success, and my recipe cards, that's critical for menu engineering and food cost and all the things that go in, because that's the primary thing I sell. And if you don't have recipe costing cards, you can't complain you're not making money. How the hell, name an industry that doesn't know what the hell they're going to sell somebody, what it costs, what they need to sell it for to make money. But us, we put a feature up in the window and go, chef, what do we charge? And they go, pull it right out of their ass and go, $14.95. You're shitting me. I don't know why I'm not making money.
Yeah. Guilty. That's awesome. Talk a little bit about what do you experience any of your clients talk to you about marketing and some of the approaches they should take in marketing? Do you get into that at all?
So I barely go into marketing. You know, I leave that to my friend Matt Plapp and Cameron Carrington, who are now the same company because Matt bought his company. Yeah. There are very few marketing people I put my name on. I will put my name on the two of them in a heartbeat, because so many are snake oil salesmen. They just, it's just get in here and it's magic. But it's work. If you really do it right, it's just like operational systems. Marketing is work. You've got to do the work, but that should be the owner doing it. Right. With that said, the only things that I focus on are some of the tried and true basics. Number one, it's understanding there's only 3 ways to increase your sales. Get a brand new customer, often the most expensive form of marketing there is, unless we're looking at America's Best Restaurants and the way we're using Facebook and chat bots and the 3 freebies. Getting your customers to come back more often. If I can get you to come in one more time a month or a week, changes things. If I get you to spend more every visit, and that's what loyalty programs do.
That's what Tony Robbins teaches. Those 3 things. Have you ever heard him talk? That's exactly what he talks about.
Because it's the only, it's a
in any
truism,
business,
right? It's a truism. So we've got to always be working on all 3 of those things. The side note is, oh, by the way, don't market if your restaurant sucks. If you're not doing restaurant 101 right, you're going to put yourself out of business because your Yelp reviews are going to go bad. Like, everybody in the world's going to know. The next piece is the most important asset any restaurant has, any business, including mine, is a customer list. If you are not collecting data on your customers, you're losing the battle. You're just wasting money marketing. Because if I have that, I could enroll you in my loyalty program, track what you're purchasing, know what kind of offer I need to get you to come in. It may be a hello, it might be a 50% off because you've been gone for 6 months. That data-driven marketing is so important. But if I don't have their name, if I don't have their data, I got nothing.
Yeah. When you are working with a client, what are like the top 3 metrics you look at to see like these people are really messed up or, you know, we got a chance? You know, what are the top 3 things that you like to see to know where you stand with this new client?
So the very first thing is going to be prime cost. Again, total cost of goods sold plus total labor costs, including taxes, benefits, insurance. Mm-hmm. I'll go there first. So I will ask, hey, what's your food cost or total cost of goods sold running? What's your labor cost running?
And do most people have like a full budget and they know what this stuff is?
And that's exactly where I'm going.
Oh, really?
Usually they go, I don't know. So if you are not taking inventories on a weekly basis, monthly at bare minimum, and know your food costs, your pour cost by category, if you're not tracking labor on a daily basis, I find that a typical restaurant who does not know where they are 78% prime cost or higher. Means for every dollar that comes in, they spend 78 cents on product and people to deliver that product. Leaving me with what? 22 cents to cover rent, utilities, and all these other things for every dollar. So you've got to do so much in sales to keep stacking 22 pennies up to pay for the $10,000 lease you have. So think about it again. I want you at 55. That means a typical restaurant has at least 23 points on the table when I meet them. 23 on $1 million, that's $230,000. That can be life-changing for people. Life-changing. On the same sales, by the way, Duce, on the same sales you're doing right now, no get-rich scheme, no marketing. It's being a better operator without screwing the guest, by buying shitty product, reducing portions to a point where you're shrinkflation. We're not cutting all of our labor to death and we're screwing people. No, staying true to our core values, buying the same quality product, giving the same service, but we are bleeding in labor. We're bleeding and not paying attention to our food, our beverage, and so on. So that's number one. Prime cost is where it is. Yep. This next piece is where are your sales? I know that when I come across somebody who does $250,000, $350,000, they're either hopefully going to build, otherwise they have a very expensive hobby. There's just not enough dollars on the table to make a living in the restaurant business. Because you know what's changed over the years, why prime cost has to go down. Think of the tech stack you have to have now. Food costing software, reservation software, online software, music software. Like just go down the list. Scheduling software, like management software, boom, 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 right? And now our POS systems are SaaS, right? A monthly payment. And so you've got to learn how to adapt, and we've got to become more efficient. And so I need sales, I need top line revenue, and I need to be efficient in what we call controllable expenses as prime cost. In control of management, how we hire, fire, train, utilize our people, purchase product, utilize that product. That's a report card. From there, the third piece is occupancy/debt service. For some people, they went into a business, a location, upside down before they even started. You know, when they have I typically want a 5 to 8% occupancy. So that's going to be my rent. That is going to be my SBA payment. That's going to be my property taxes and insurance to be in that building. 5 to 8%. A typical restaurant today is 10 to 12. Wow. You get above 12% of your sales, you're now working for the landlord.
Yeah.
Those are the top 3 things I look at.
That makes a lot of sense. I mean, it's so easy in the restaurant business to overlook some of those things when you don't know what you're doing because you have your head down, you're trying to do the best you can. I remember just in the early days of the restaurant business, we had no idea. You know, now everything's done on a budget and we track everything all the time. But in the beginning, it's overwhelming, you know.
Duce, I'd tell you that 99 out of 100 restaurant operators don't have a budget. Wow. They had a budget when they asked for money and then they shelved it.
Yeah.
A budget is a breathing creature. Every time you measure what you did last month, you change the next 10 months, the next 9 months, the next 8 months. You know, you've got to keep the phrase that which we measure improves really matters. but you've got to have the right KPIs, key performance indicators. Where should your food cost be to hit your 55 or under prime cost? Where should your busser labor be, your server labor, your cashier, your driver? Like, everything's going to have a budget target to manage too. And then what systems are you going to put in place to achieve that?
Not our biggest problem, but a problem that we have, and you brought it up, I think, I don't know, last time I heard you talking online, or I was going through your page getting ready for the interview, you said something like you're waiting to the 15th of the next month, to sign. And we're totally in that place right now. Usually it's not as like January, February, and March, we could have some issues. The rest of the year, we're like what you were saying, that prime time. From middle of April into December, our business is like rocket ship and we're doing good. But it's still, we struggle trying to get those numbers updated until the 15th of the following month.
So people understand what we're talking about is it's like finding out your food cost. All too often, the old school restaurant way was take monthly inventories. And so if I wait to the end of the month and then I send it off to the accountant, I don't get my P&Ls till 15 days or later, because quite honestly, your CPA or a bookkeeper has to wait for the power bill from last month. They got to wait from the rent from last month. Like they're waiting for the final numbers to plug in. And let's say we get their P&L on the 15th, and you got a rock star accountant, because most are getting 30, 60, 90 days or even worse, which means you're running a business blind. But here, I get this P&L, it says the food cost is high. And I go, Duce, you're my chef. And I go, Duce, your food cost is high. And the first thing out of your mouth is going to be, your accountant's wrong. Those are my numbers. Like, we're debating now. Whoa, that's not right. And let's say you do buy in and just you say, man, that sucks. I'm sorry, I'll fix it. Well, I'm asking you to fix a problem 15 days in the next period, which means you've made the same dumbass mistake for 45 days in a row. And now I want you to fix it. It's too late. Right. So we've got to get on things like simple weekly prime cost budget variance reports, which means I need to take weekly inventories. That means I need to have software to take inventories, make them quickly. If we set up shelf sheet inventory in anybody's software, I should be able to take a $2 million restaurant to take inventory in under an hour every Sunday. Know my food costs within seconds. I need to have scheduling software and a POS system so that I can calculate my labor cost. And if I can measure each one of my costs, food, bottled beer, draft beer, wine, liquor, each position, where my targets were and what I did, and let's say I miss, I'm $500 over in food costs. Well, it's week one. I have 3 weeks to fix it. I don't have to pull the Band-Aid off. And how do I fix it? Well, we got to buy cheaper shit. No. Chef, kitchen manager, give me features that are $60 out of our range. People don't normally, and make them a 20% cost of goods sold. Make them phenomenal. Let's drive our costs down by changing our mix.
Yeah.
Maybe, and oh, by the way, fix the problem. Maybe my labor cost was high. Hey, chef, I need you to, or front of house manager, I need you to trim 2 hours from each position over the next 3 weeks without giving up guest satisfaction. 2 hours is 15 minutes here, 15 minutes here, 15 minutes. Will not affect their paycheck, will not affect the operation, but all of a sudden I just steal a little bit from everybody, and all of a sudden I'm getting myself back on budget to make up the $500 in labor I blew because we didn't pay attention. And so by looking every week, by having the budget targets, measuring every week, I got 3 weeks to fix, 2 weeks to fix, 1 week to fix, instead of looking backwards. We proactively change.
Yeah. I love that so much. I'm going to definitely talk too. So that's something that, on the macro level makes a lot of sense. But I think that, it's going to be hard to get some of these people dialed into all those systems. Because like you said, you need the technology. So that's not something you can flip the switch and have it done the next month. It takes time to get everything set up.
Yeah. So I'll give you, for instance, if you bought my book, that is my coaching program. If you bought my book, it's my 2-day seminar in Las Vegas. It's the same stuff.
Yeah.
It's 6 month to a year journey. And then there's 3 more years worth of work to do. And the reason being is you could implement systems like that, but if you can't get people to learn why you use them, where the numbers come from, how to utilize that data, and why it's important to do it every single day, then they're not going to be used and you're wasting time and money. You have to change, and this is the truth of really when it comes to systems. Dude, so I'm not the smartest guy in the world. I didn't invent, like we talked about marketing. Well, if I talk about cost of goods sold, it's beginning inventory plus purchases minus ending gives me use divided by sales, gives me food cost percentage. That's math. It's arithmetic. It's it's been around forever. I'm not the smartest guy in the world. But the truth of the matter is, if you don't make this a part of your culture, ain't going to be used. So the truth is, the systems are easy. Changing your company culture, this is where we as restaurant pros run into the struggle. We're different. It's too hard. I tried. We can't do that. And all of a sudden we get peppered with all this negativity, and we just give up. Oh, I'm just going to do it myself. You got to change your company culture, which means you may lose some of your best people who you thought were your best people because they don't like change.
Right.
But
no,
gotta
people
lead
don't
your
like
business.
change.
Yeah.
So we run our catering kitchen we're going to do about $9 million in sales this year. So we have a decent sized catering kitchen, and sometimes the chefs, the cooks in the kitchen need stuff updated, like their prep lists and the BEOs printed out and stuff like that.
Yep.
But they're always relying on Brian because he's our tech guy in the kitchen. But sometimes Brian's not there at 6 a.m, so they get upset. So we brought a computer in the kitchen for them to print their own sheets.
Yeah.
You should have seen the look on their face. They wanted nothing to do with it. No. But they don't like change. Exactly what you're saying is like you got to get them to say, you can help yourselves. If we show you how to do this, it's a few clicks of the mouse. What I can't get past is everyone knows how to use a cell phone. Everyone knows they have a computer in their hand. So I got to get them to get comfortable with this computer, and it'll make their life easier.
So it's two things. One is, I agree, the cell phone thing, the I'm not computer literate bullshit is out the window. I'm sorry you walk around with one. Everything's an app nowadays.
Yep.
But here's what it comes down to. So do know that before we do anything and implement a change, we have to explain why. How it will benefit the guest, how it will benefit them, how it will benefit you and your family. We're always guest-centric. It's about the guest, then it's the employees, then it's us. So we've got to say why. The other is understanding what change really means. So Duce, do me a favor. Take your hands, clasp them together, like since you were a baby, sucking your thumb. Wham, boom, nice, comfortable, right? Now open your fingers, shift one finger, and then reclasp. It's gross. Feels awful. You can stop. I mean, it's just gross. But let me ask you a question. By shifting one finger and closing your hand, was that difficult?
It was not difficult, no.
What was it?
Uncomfortable. Yeah.
That's change. So yeah, we understand it's going to be uncomfortable, and it may take you 15 minutes to do it, or 30 minutes, because you're walking through our checklist, our step-by-step checklist. You're watching the video we created on how to do it. We're sitting next to you 4 or 5 times till we think you can do it on your own. You use them as references. And, oh, by the way, eventually it takes 5 seconds, because you're now like, ... You know, it's like watching the old days when at a Costco or a Sam's Club when the cashiers would 10 key. And you'd be like, holy crap. And they're putting all the things in a 10 key. Like, how do you get there? There's no way they started that way. They weren't born that way. They did it slowly, got faster, got faster, got faster, got faster. And that's what systems do. That's why you can't do them overnight. You have to implement one, make it a part of culture. Implement another, make it a part of culture. Implement another, go back to the first one, re-implement, and keep moving. Because it's just a constant moving battle.
So I know we talked a little bit about marketing for restaurants, but I guarantee you know something about marketing because you're doing it for yourself, because I see you on the feed and everything like that. You're doing a great job with that. What kind of strategies are you using for your personal brand to grow? Like, who's helping you with that?
It's going to be the same thing for everybody. You have to embrace video. You must embrace video. The days of spending money on TV ads, the day of putting it in a magazine and billboards and all these things, there are some uses depending on the market where I might consider that. But for the most part, they're all wastes of money because I can't measure. I can't capture somebody's data. So we've got to, be on the internet. We've got to have some sort of opt-in form on our page with what I call an ethical bribe. Give me your name and your email, and I will give you something for free. For me, it's a special report. For you guys, it may be a dessert, an entree, or whatever. Yeah. Right? I will give away something for free if I can capture your data, put you in my system, because now I know who you are to market to. You need to have a list, build your list, just like I do, and you need to learn how to market. And if you know who your people are, customize your emails, what it's going to be. So now I need software that can automate that process for me. Once you know birthdays, you should never have to think about a birthday. It should know the birthday and send the birthday offer automatically for you. Video in social media is going to be really important. Now, there are people tell you got to be on all the platforms. I'm going to tell you, all the experts I've talked to is you're on the platforms where you can be consistent and where your guests are. So if you got a younger clientele, you better be on Instagram. If you got an older clientele, you better be on Facebook. And truth of the matter is there's some younger people still on Facebook, right? It's not dead. But if you got a really young, hip crowd, we might have to be on TikTok. Whatever, pick one and be consistent. Just keep bringing it in there. And what I need is videos that share who you are. A little bit about the business. Not, hey, we've got the best ribs in town. No, it's like, did you know that our rub is 3 generations old? Let me tell you about my great-great-grandfather, who, the storytelling and the feeling being a part of who you are, the getting to know your employees and having some fun with them is so much more important than come and eat. Come on in and get our brisket.
Right.
And we don't want to scream that anymore. We want to create a bond. We want to create stories that people buy into. And then when they walk in, they go, I know about this place.
Yeah. And then they tell other people about it. That's one of the best forms of marketing, is when you get that secondary endorsement and you say, you have to go check this out and let me tell you about it.
And you know, I get it's tough. It's a new way to look at things, because now our restaurants are becoming media companies. My business is becoming a media company. You've got to be able to produce content, not just ads. If that
you should
makes sense.
see. So we started taking social media seriously like 3 years ago, and we started doing videos every week. Now we do 3 videos every other week, where we get, production person comes in, I shoot educational barbecue videos. Now we started a podcast, and I can't believe the amount of eye rolls I got when I said I'm going to start a podcast. But it's so, anybody that knows be like, why didn't you start sooner? You should have started 2 years ago. And it's just awesome. I'm excited about it because we get to have these type of conversations, and I think it's just gonna lead to a lot of awesome things in the future. A lot of networking capabilities. I love the whole podcast concept for a lot of reasons.
Well, you're connecting. You're a human being now. You're not a company. That's number one.
Right.
Number 2, you're educating people. Number 3, you are providing. Part of that education is getting to know you and feel comfortable as if you're a part of my family. I've invited you in. It's like the old days when TV first came in. We were inviting you into our living rooms.
Yeah.
Well, now as a podcast, I get to make a choice. I actually want to listen to you. Right. I actually look forward to listening to you because I get some benefit. And when you build that credibility and that kind of, goodwill, you're going to get it back in spades.
Yeah, agreed. I mean, I'm sold on podcasts because I'm a podcast junkie. I always have a podcast on, whether I'm going to the work or at the gym or wherever. So I find so much value, and sometimes it's just nice to have some mindless, like I listen to educational stuff, inspirational stuff, business stuff. So I listen to all sorts of different podcasts depending on what's going on with me. But sometimes it's nice just to have some noise in the background.
Yeah.
Talk to me a little bit about restaurant trends. Is there anything that you think is a must, or you think is gone away or coming back, or what do you see there?
I'd say the restaurant trend that COVID pointed out the most is, if I'm a quick serve restaurant, you better have a drive-through.
I can't believe you just said that. That's the number one thing on my list.
I've had a member of mine, my old company, who was outside of Philly, had a pizza place with a drive-through. They were a full-service restaurant with a drive-through. Drive-through was more than half his sales, because moms didn't want to get out of the car with 2 kids in the van in kids seats, all strapped in snow to get the pizza. Instead, they could reach in and get it. It makes a huge difference. But COVID showed us that, man, every other restaurant damn near shut down. Let's pivot. Let's become a store. Let's do this, that. Where the quick serve that had, okay, we can shut down our dining room, do this without less labor, and just have lines of cars all day long and thrive.
Yeah.
So
that's amazing.
That would probably be the biggest trend. The second thing I would say is stop trying to build the Taj Mahal of a restaurant. I'm going to build it. It's going to have 350 seats. Bullshit. Figure out what we can do with as few seats as possible. I'm not talking 20. Maybe it's 100. Maybe it's 150. Maybe it's 80. But you want to maximize that space and really look at the efficiencies, because what rents cost and the more staff I need, so on and so forth, you may actually take yourself economically out of a successful restaurant by building too big.
What do you think about the concept of like really getting to know what you do the best and just do that, keeping the menu as limited as possible versus having the Cheesecake Factory menu? How do you feel about that?
So I've been a proponent for that for forever. I can tell you that 15 years ago, I would have told you the number of menu items would be 35 or less. Today, I'd tell you 25 or less. Be great at everything you do, not okay at 1,000 things. You cannot be all things to all people. Be very specific. Like all too often restaurants, especially small markets, breakfast, we need breakfast place. So I'm going to open and add breakfast. And a Mexican food restaurant opened down the street and we're a sports bar. I'm going to add Mexican food. And a steakhouse, I'm going to need to add steak. And you want to compete on all these levels and you suck because you can't do anything. Do your core well. Let's use, for instance, out here in the West, we've got In-N-Out Burger. They sell a cheeseburger, hamburger, fries, and a milkshake. And they have loyal, raving fans. They are busy all the time. They just do what they do so freaking well. And so if we can be in that 20 range, even smaller, just be awesome at what you do. By the way, it reduces our food costs. We have less on the shelves. We simplify our ordering, our inventory. We reduce our labor costs. We have cooks who don't have to know 100 things. They only need to know 20 things. And all of a sudden, your efficiencies go, and they make them over and over again, which means your consistency goes through the roof, which means your sales go through the roof, because I can count on getting the same guest experience, the same food every time I walk in your door. There's just so many advantages to a smaller menu.
I know. I go back and shake my head about how we used to operate some of these things, because we'd always be coming up with different specials and nightly specials and weekly specials and all this stuff. Our name of the restaurant is Sweet Baby Ray's. What do you think they come to our restaurant for? They're not coming for prime rib dinner. They're coming for ribs and brisket and pork. That's why they're coming to us. And
Right.
we're just like, trying to get more sales, trying to compete against the place next door and all this stuff. And it's like, we had to learn the hard way all the things that you're just talking about right now. It's really educational. And if you guys are out and need help at your restaurant, you got to check out David, because he is a wealth of knowledge. This has been absolutely awesome.
Thanks, brother.
Anything else you want to share with us? The last thing we do on the Duce Raymond podcast is a lightning round, where I go through about 10 items and you just list off the first thing that comes to your head. But anything else you want to share with us before?
Yeah, I just think you've got to understand that as a business owner, but particularly in the restaurant business, you've got to become the leader your restaurant needs. And that means you have to say, this is my vision for my business. These are the systems I want. You got to train your people. You've got to hold them accountable. But more importantly, if you're listening to podcasts, watching videos, reading books, going to seminars, doing the education part, it doesn't matter if you learn it if you don't take action. My father had a phrase that said, ideas are cheap. It's the people who put them into action that are priceless. So you've got to do something. Otherwise, nothing changes.
Right. That's awesome. Great words of advice there. Okay, for the lightning round, like I said, I'm just going to list off a couple things, and you just name the first thing that comes to your mind.
Okay.
Okay. Are you ready?
Sure thing.
Gordon Ramsay.
Food.
Dynamic pricing.
Bad idea.
Virtual kitchens.
Hard to work.
Michelin stars.
Overrated.
Pickup only restaurants.
That's a tough one. Depending on the market.
Customer experience.
Number one.
Food trucks.
Good idea.
Sustainable practices.
If you are going to charge for them.
Pop-up restaurants.
I don't have an answer.
Your favorite meal.
Pizza.
Awesome. David, this has been so informational. I really, really appreciate your time, man. Thank you so much.
Thanks for having me, Duce. I appreciate you.
All right. We'll talk soon.
Thanks.